Another daughter goes to slaughter, faces twisted in pain. A stupid alibi might just clear the guy who rides a crazy train. This world's gone crazy. Things are spinning round and round. Well, someday maybe we'll calm our chaos down. Another child is gone, last seen on the lawn of the 2nd Street in Maine. Mom cut all the ties with all those stupid guys, but it was all in vain. This world's gone crazy. Things are spinning round and round. Well, someday maybe we'll calm our chaos down. Someone lost control while he was on parole. He drove through that parade. Families start to cry, seeing him on trial and acting so insane. This world's gone crazy. Things are spinning round and round. Well, someday maybe we'll calm our chaos down. 4 kids in Idaho, white car on the go, and the internet explodes. Cops and sleuths and clowns in suits, and they all think they know. This world's gone crazy. Things are spinning round and round. Well, someday maybe we'll calm our chaos down. Well, here I am. You got to get up pretty early in the morning to get your chaos calmed, I guess. For those of you who are out there this early in the morning, my gosh. So I'm in Washington State. It is 6:08, and there's a rhyme. As you can see, I'm a musician as well as a licensed psychotherapist here. There are my instruments in the background. Welcome for all of you who are listening. Really thought it was important after Friday's trial to try and at least do this. I know I've seen a lot of LawTube channels or people who are lawyers go and live stream these court cases that are really important. And today we're talking about the one for Jennifer Crumbley. The prosecution has brought forth a case because her son, Ethan Crumbley, and that's the only time I'll be mentioning his name, therefore he's going to be referred to as the shooter, did a mass killing at Oxford High School in Michigan, killing 4 of his classmates and injuring several more, and teachers as well. I want to first say, just pay homage to the victims. That's Madison Baldwin, Tate Meyer, Hannah St. Juliana, and Justin Schilling, who all died in this mass shooting here at Oxford High. And pardon me if I am a little bit awkward at this because I don't do live streams that often. And then I'm also going to be, when Law and Crime or Channel 2 actually airs the footage from the courtroom, I'll be switching over to that. I really have preferred to watch Channel 2 in Detroit because that's where I've been watching all the coverage of this case. They have a lot better camera angles, but looks like Law and Crime is already at least up and running. So I'll check to see if Channel 2 is also up and running. So my eyes might be darting around a little bit on the screen. Forgive me for that. For those of you who don't know the background of the case, then, so there was a mass shooting. This was back in November of 2021, and the shooter was 15 at the time. So what this case is about is the parents of the shooter. And actually the parents are going to be going through their separate trials. So right now is the mother, and her name is Jennifer Crumbley. And the prosecution is bringing forth a case against the parents because they felt that A, they knew that their son had mental illness and or signs of mental illness. B, bought him a firearm, knowing that information. And so they also knew that he was very proficient at it. So day one, so we're on day 3 today. Day 1 was basically establishing that there was indeed a firearm purchased, and that the shooter knew how to operate the gun. And so all of it was about, and it was also, actually, it started out with 2 of the victims from Oxford, a teacher who actually got shot in her shoulder, and the assistant principal who stayed with one of the victims, Tate Meyer, up until he died in her arms, I think. Pretty powerful, very emotional testimony. And then we had our ATF alcohol, tobacco, and firearms agent, gun expert, basically, is what I call him. Come on, and he was talking about the specifics of guns on day 1. Day 2 is where it started to get a little bit more wild because they started talking a little bit more about the mental health issues. There was only one witness on the stand, and he was the forensic expert on all of the text messages, all of Facebook Messenger, Instagram posts. He was the tech guy who knew everything about all of this stuff. And so what was going on day 2 was mainly the direct examination of all of these. I mean, it was just tons of text messages. And then the defense brought up her argument as well, and brought, I thought, a pretty good argument about reasonable doubt. Now, she was very emotional, and for those of you who haven't seen the end of day 2 or even day 2 of that trial is very painful and hard to get through. I was able to do it by Friday night, and then there was nobody around to talk to about it. Nobody was commenting on it because I think everybody had kind of given up on it by that time. But what I'm here to do today is to help identify any mental health issues or psychological issues. And when we talk about psychology, it's going to be what you're thinking, how you're feeling, and what you're doing, so how you're behaving. And what we typically see in a courtroom is going to be behavior. And courtroom behavior is very interesting in this case, or did get very interesting by the end of the court day on Friday. And again, it's like this crescendo of emotion. Plus, there's the victims' families in the audience, and very emotional there. But one would expect that the professionals, which would be the judge, the prosecution attorneys, and the defense attorneys, would keep it together emotionally. On day one, I might mention there was audible sobbing from the defense table when they did show video footage without audio. Uh, when they're talking about actually seeing the shooting taking place, and the defense was admonished for her excessive outbursts of emotions. I don't know, she wasn't really admonished. I think she was just, warned that would possibly sway the jury into thinking a certain way or feeling a certain way. But she acted sincere that they were actual tears. Holy crap, I've actually got some comments. Let me flip over to YouTube here. I see. Oh, hey, Rabbit. Oh, it's Scotty Detroit. And oh my gosh, I got 3. This is the most people I've had in my chat in so long. Hi. I know I'm up at 6:00 in the morning. Oh my gosh. Yeah. So Scotty Detroit is my brother-in-law, and his mother, my mother-in-law, is a huge fan of this case. We have been texting back and forth since 2021 about it. So. And Jeanette's a good friend of mine from Land Speculation Channel Discord, and Rabbit Dog is also I'm so glad I have 2 mods here because, Jeanette really needs to be kept in her place. She's known to misbehave. I should just make Jeanette a mod just because. No, I just have all mods on my channel. And no, actually, there's usually no problem at all keeping anybody in line in my channel anymore. But where was I going? Psychology, thinking, feeling, and doing. And so, so there was behavior you actually could see. There was audible sobbing. That's behavior. So there's some psychology behind that, right? So on the second day of the second trial, there was some talk in particular and interruptions. That's a behavior that I saw from the defense attorney. And interrupting, that's another behavior. And it got really, really bad toward the end. I mean, as far as the number of incidents that I saw and the intensity of it. And I really think that the prosecution kept their cool. And when the defense attorney, Shannon Smith, was interrupting them, they were asking her to hold back. They were asking her to please let them finish and stuff. So I am very, very curious to see what is going to happen today in this when they get it started. All I see on Law and Crime is Judge Cheryl M. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to share the screen. There's no sound here because I'm actually listening through my phone. If anybody has any questions about this case that they want to ask me, I'd be happy to try and answer it because nothing is going on yet on Law and Crime. Oh yeah, I was going to try and find it on Detroit. Let me mute myself for just a second. Detroit 2 is where I prefer to watch it because they've got better camera angles in there. So I will definitely try. But this is new for me. I've never done a live reaction video before. So it's going to be, and I can only really do it for a couple of hours. That's going to be the most I can be on here because I got a supervision session I got to get to at 9, and a cat I got to feed probably again by 8. So this should be fun when it starts. So let me see if I can find it on Detroit too. So this happened on November 30th, 2021. This was the actual gun was a Sig Sauer 9mm that was purchased on the 26th of November. So really only 4 days. 6/4. Am I doing my math right? It's pretty early. That Friday, and then the shooting happened later on in that week, less than a week later. So they bought it the day after Thanksgiving, and the shooting happened that very next week. after the parents had been warned that there were some concerning things with the shooter, for example, looking up ammunition on his phone at school. And so they gave the parents a call, a voicemail about that concern. It really wasn't taken too seriously at that point. They even played the recording of that voicemail message, and the lady given the voicemail message just didn't seem to be. They said that there was just a concern about this. But what really was the big deal was on the day of the shooting, he was drawing all these images of guns and shooting people and help me and blood and on his math quiz. And so a teacher got concerned, turned it into the school counselor, who promptly called the parents in for a meeting that day. So in that morning, both the parents came in to the meeting with the school counselor and the shooter. And the shooter had his backpack with him because they didn't use lockers in those days because it was right after COVID. So they didn't use any lockers. They had to wear backpacks to cart their books around. And so they had this meeting, and it lasted 12 minutes with the shooter's parents and the shooter. And apparently in that meeting, the counselor had said that there was a stipulation of the shooter needed to receive mental health counseling within the next 48 hours, I believe, and then gave the parents the choice about whether to let their son go back into the school or go home with them. The parents elected to have him stay at school, and the counselor failed to search the backpack, which did contain a firearm. Also, parents did not notify I think that they did notify the school that the shooter knew how to shoot and had been to the gun range with the mom. And but they did not let the school know that the shooter actually had a gun, because that gun was purchased on Black Friday. It was purchased for the shooter, especially for the shooter. So and that's not illegal. And this is in the state of Michigan, is also not illegal to not lock up firearms either. And so really, as far as legalities, I'm not here to comment on that. I'm just here to see what happens in this courtroom, baby, because it got really wild on Friday. So yeah, I think that's really all of the other background. If anybody has any questions, let me know. But otherwise, I'm just going to go ahead and see if I can get this on Detroit too. I was thinking it would start late anyway, because the way it ended Friday was, again, just really wild. And I'm sure that before they start to air it, there's going to be a lot of arguing going on between the prosecution, defense, and judge in this case. And they told the jury not to arrive until 9. Yeah. Well, it's past 9. So the jury's already there, but they may not be in the courtroom, because the courtroom is definitely not airing. So let me look it up this way. Detroit 2. Okay, it looks like it's so annoying. I think it's annoying when, and I don't do this on my channel personally, but when they have, you just click on a channel and it's just like this Taylor Swift song or this music or something. I'm just like, oh my gosh, sometimes it scares me. So Detroit 2 does not have it on yet. They probably wait till the very last moment here. But what I'm going to do is I'm just going to go ahead and keep that up there, and I'm going to share my screen, and we're going to go ahead and wait, is this it? Let's just see what this is here. We're going to go ahead and did I just share it or not? No, I did not. Let's just see. Wait, maybe this is here. Yes. No, I'm sharing myself. Oh, why do I always do this? Okay, I got to stop sharing. All right, hold on. Judge, you can just take your break for as long as you need, because Tracy's still trying to figure things out. I just shared my YouTube. Oh, okay. I just shared my YouTube channel. What a doof. Okay. Let's try that again. If I do the same thing again, forgive me, guys. I'm just doing the best I can here. This is watch live. Yeah, I should have shared watch live. Okay, there we go. So that should work. Oh my gosh, it's sharing all the chat too. There's so much chat in these crime channels. Um, so forgive me for that, but this is well, wait, maybe I could just hold on. I'll try and work with that because I don't particularly want to watch their chat. I'm just gonna. How do I? I know there's a way to just like compress the chat. Oh, hide chat. There we go. I wonder if I can also make it big screen here. Yeah. Look at me being all technical. Now I've got everything the way I want it. Woohoo. Let's see if the judge ever comes on. Oh, and I have to make sure when I share my screen that I'm sharing the am I still sharing the screen? Let's see. I'm gonna have to do the whole thing over again. I have to share the audio. Also share audio is on. Okay. Yeah. So what you'll see is a big old screen, but when the audio comes on, the audio will be on. So I did it. I did it. All right, let's see what's going on in the chat here. Top chat. I'm just gonna go ahead and change that to live chat so I can get everybody, all of you three. Oh my gosh, I cannot believe this. Okay. Jeanette's like, no, she doesn't want to be a mod for my chat. Aw, Jeanette. It's not that bad. I hardly ever go live. She might be saying no to something else, but all right. Rabid says, did you mention the prosecutor lost it a bit? No, it was not the prosecutor. It was the defense attorney, Shannon Smith. And it wasn't a bit. It was a lot. And yeah, remember, and this is about behavior again in psychology. So I don't know what she was thinking except for what words were coming out of her mouth. And how often she was interrupting. But this was, throughout her cross exam, but especially when after the jury had left, thank goodness, the prosecution had brought up a couple of concerns. And she kept the defense attorney, Shannon Smith, continued to escalate in her emotional. Anyway, if anyone remembers Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, Veruca Salt. Again, this is behavior, this is acting, this is the way she acted. You watch Charlie and the Chocolate Factory and the scene with Veruca Salt, and that is exactly what I saw at the end of the day. So to answer Rabbit's question, it was the defense attorney, Shannon Smith. If you are interested at all, check out day 2 of the trial. Probably only really need to watch the last either the first 40 minutes of that day or the last 40 minutes of that day. Crazy. That's why I started the live stream with that song that I wrote about true crime. This world's gone crazy, and we could just substitute court. This court's gone crazy. Things were spinning round and round that day. That's for sure. And then, okay, yeah, so Scotty, yes, the mother did take him to a gun range, and they actually did air the footage. I believe that was on day 1 because they were talking about all the gun stuff. They had the ATF guy there, and they actually have cameras all over these gun ranges. They have it at the front counter, in the hallways, when you go into the room, when you're at the range. They were showing all that video of that. And yes, the mother, previously, the father had taken him to a gun range to shoot a different gun before they had bought the SIG. And they had 2 other guns in the home. I know one was a 22 caliber, and then there was another larger gun. I don't know guns at all, but so they had, when they got the SIG, then that was their 3rd gun that they had in the house. So Scotty likes watching old videos of Ted versus Heard. Oh my gosh. Okay. This is worse. I mean, I'm telling you, it is. But it's not on the witness end or anything. It's on the the uh, the attorney's end on the defense side. The thing I want to say about Shannon Smith is that she's making really valid arguments. What she's saying is that you can't definitively prove that the parents were aware of mental health issues because they hadn't gotten him officially diagnosed. And you can't definitively prove that they didn't have a conversation with him about, because he had said something about hearing voices and seeing things flying off the shelves of his house. The shooter was saying all this stuff in text messages to his parents. But you can't definitively say whether or not the parents didn't have a conversation that we can't document, with Facebook Messenger um, or just text messages, even email. They seized the people's Google accounts, all that stuff. So yeah, that was that. So Depp v. Heard definitely was interesting. And yeah, if you want, you already probably know enough about this case, Scott, to be able to watch, um, just thumb through day 2. It says everyone is a lawyer. Yeah, I do not claim to be a lawyer, although it would be interesting to be one. The only problem I have with Smith is her interrupting, her arguing with the judge making a ruling, and she's continuing to argue with her and almost stomping her foot, like, again, Veruca Salt in Charlie and the Chocolate Factory. And saying she's doing the best with what she has. She did have quite a big stack of paper at one point in time, kind of reminding me of the Daryl Brooks trial when he was hiding behind all those boxes. And she had it, and the judge called it the Leaning Tower of Pisa. Could you please remove that? I would hate to see it fall down and have you have to organize that when you could be enjoying your weekend, is what the judge said, which I thought was kind of funny, but you know. Anything else I could say? Yeah, they're really taking their time getting on to Law and Crime. I'm trying to think of any other highlights I can think of for day 2 or day 1. Oh, well, the judge. Now that I'm talking about the judge, Cheryl M. I don't know what her name is. I do know that the prosecutor table has a female and a male. Karen McDonald is the female. I don't know what the male guy's name is, but I'm telling you what, he's fantastic. He keeps his cool. And when Veruca, oh gosh, I can't believe I just called her Veruca. When Shannon Smith starts to interrupt, he says, "Wait a minute," and she stops. So whatever tone of voice he has is effective on her. So kudos to him. So we got 2 people on that table. And then we've got 3 people at the defense table, one of them being Shannon Smith, who's doing all of it. She's basically, and I feel kind of bad because I think she doesn't have another attorney to juggle the cross exams and she's at this point only doing the cross exams because she's defense. And then in the middle is Jennifer Crumbley. And then on the side, I am not sure who that ginger guy is. He doesn't hardly say anything, looks very professional, kind of does some help moving some stuff around. And also you can see him touching Jennifer on the shoulder. I think he must be a paralegal or some kind of legal person in the office somewhere. But the judge, she is more like a counselor type of thing. You could even hear her sort of like using counselor skills. Again, this is about psychology and behavior and the way she was behaving. And she had this counselor-y voice to her. And she was even sort of trying, like, it's almost like a mother would console a child, or also being very soft-spoken. And she never said overruled or sustained the whole time, which I found very interesting. What she did instead was she was, if a person, I didn't even really hear objections. All I heard was interruptions. She just, Shannon Smith would just say, "I'm sorry, but blah, 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 blah." there was no objection, and then there was no a reason, like you would see in a typical court trial. But this judge would, when Shannon Smith would do that, the judge would behave in a way to where it's like, okay, I see what you're saying, and this evidence was blah 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 blah. She would just answer the question, and then maybe the prosecution would say something, and then Shannon would say something else, and there would be this little argument back and forth, and that it was like a counseling session, actually, where the now that I think about it, as I'm talking about it, the where the prosecution was the parent in a family session. These were the parents, and Shannon Smith was the child, and the judge was the actual mental health counselor. I mean, it actually looked like that. So if you haven't seen any part of this, I'm trying to describe to you as best I can what was going on. But the judge finally, at the very end of the day, said, "I've had it. We need to stop. We need to all take a breath, and we need to all go home." And in my opinion, I think that's what needed to happen sooner in the trial rather than later. And that's another reason why I'm on here, is to see how the judge acts today and to possibly comment on the psychology of that. I'm not one of those. Well, I've never done this before, but I don't want to be one of those people who constantly interrupt. And I would try to find pockets of places to comment, since this is going to be a live stream. I hope it will come up someday. so, um, it'll be more observing behavior, and I might be in the chat for a little while if I have a thought about behavior, because I don't like people missing any of the dialogue. Can you guys tell I listen to a lot of true crime? Just for giggles, I'm gonna pull up, because I don't have it on my law and crime. I do have it on my phone. Some of the chat here. Oh, I think it might be coming up. Oh wait, maybe not. I'm just kind of trying to figure out if anybody has the skinny on when this is gonna start. I mean, I could, yeah. Okay, nothing's happening here. Blah 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 blah. Oh, Fox 2. Oh, I guess Fox 2 is up. Let me look. Yeah, I do prefer Fox 2, actually. It's right from Detroit. Oh, it is? Okay, let me see if I can try and switch there. Okay, alright. Let's get rid of law and crime and stop sharing this screen. So now it's just me. I'm gonna go ahead and try and share the other screen instead. No, I don't want that one. This is the one I wanna share. Let's see if that works. Alright, now I gotta get rid of the chat like I did last time. How did I do that? Oh, am I gonna have to do this over again? That's okay. I don't think there's anything really happening here. Hi, chat. And big screen. Oh my goodness. I'm impressing the pants off of myself. Oh my goodness. How am I even doing this? Can you guys hear? Put a 1 in the chat, you guys, if you could, if you can hear the kind of court noises in the background. And I don't know how to control my volume on my end. There's Miss Smith right there in the red, putting on her lip gloss. And God, do I sound sarcastic? I should not be, but yeah, if somebody can let me know if you can hear it. Thanks, Scott. Your poor brother is taking it the Lions pretty hard. Yeah, uh, we're all super depressed here today. Yeah. And it is interesting too, because this is in Oxford, Michigan, and so they're coming on the heels of a Lions loss. These poor people. I don't know who that is talking to Miss Smith. Miss Smith is again the one in the background there, wearing kind of a red, kind of a salmon colored jacket. And I do not see Jennifer Crumbley, but they did. I know she's there because they showed her side of her face earlier. So exciting stuff. Yeah. Yeah. I promise to keep my behavior. Oh, what did I do? Did I just? Oh no! I just shut down everything. What did I just do? Okay, I'll get it back. I don't think there's anything. I don't think there's anything going on anyway. I'm fairly confident I'll be able to get it back here. Oh, there's starting to be sounds. There's sounds. Yeah. Can you see it now?
Your Honor, calling People versus Jennifer Crumbley, case number 222799990 FH.
Chairman McDonald on behalf of the people.
Thank you, Marquise. On behalf of the people.
Thank you. I'm Shannon Smith on behalf of Jennifer Crumbley.
She's on her way up.
Thank you.
I have it. I probably just brought it.
I know, until you get here.
I just brought it with me onto my desk. Anything, she's on her way up.
Sorry, Jeanette, this is as high as I can go.
Are there some things you wanted to put on the record before the jury comes in?
I believe so, Your Honor.
We had a discussion off the record to plan our going forward here. So I think there was a few things we resolved. I know. One of the things is the Facebook.
That's what I was going to address.
But do you want to do that outside the presence of the jury or in front of the jury?
Oh, no, I actually think we should do it in front of the jury.
Okay, I agree.
Right.
I agree. I agree.
Counsel needs to water her client. I think that should happen outside the presence of the jury.
Right.
Oh, okay, that's right.
Mrs. Crumbley, could you raise your right hand? Do you swear or affirm the testimony about to give is the truth, so help you God?
I do.
And can you tell me your name?
Jennifer Crumbley?
Okay, we just have a few questions for you, okay?
Okay, Mrs. Crumbley, when we were in court on Friday, there was discussion about admitting the Facebook Messenger messages between yourself and James Crumbley.
Correct.
Do you recall that?
Yes.
And on Saturday, I came over to the jail to see you, and that was specifically a topic we discussed.
Yes.
Okay, and at this time, we have talked about how during the trial, there was talk about redacting portions of that Facebook Messenger thread pursuant to other orders, correct? And the court offered me the opportunity to redact portions of that record.
Correct.
And after you and I discussed it, it's fair to say that you and I believe that it would look like we are hiding evidence from the jury if they saw a redacted version of Exhibit 423, correct?
Correct.
Okay, wait till I finish speaking before you start. Okay, so at this time, I have let the court know that we are not moving for any redactions and that Exhibit 423 will be admitted, showing your entire phone conversation with James on Facebook Messenger. And Your Honor, there's specific dates it's from, so I think I should put the dates on the record.
It might be on the,
I'll just grab it. Oh, I'm sorry, I don't have the exhibit. It wasn't with the initial folder I had. Do you know the dates?
January 21.
Okay, so
early 2021.
it's the entire Facebook Messenger thread between you and Mr. Crumbley, starting in January of 2021, and it goes up through the events that lead us here today.
Correct.
Okay, is it your decision to allow those Facebook messages to be admitted in the court without redaction?
Yes.
And you and I have talked about the pros and cons of redacting those exhibits.
Correct.
And at this time, you understand they will be admitted without any redactions.
I do.
And just a few.
Sure.
Mrs. Crumbley, you understand that Exhibit 423 won't just be given to the jury, but the prosecution can go through that with either you on a cross-examination or with other witnesses.
Correct.
And you consulted with your attorney specifically about that point?
Yes.
And it is your decision as a defendant in the case, in consultation with your attorney as part of trial strategy, to admit this entire exhibit?
Yes.
And to be clear, this is the Facebook message thread
Mhm.
between Jennifer and James Crumbley beginning January 1, 2021. It's over 2,000 pages long.
Exhibit 423.
And Mrs. Crumbley, you understand that throughout the pendency of this case, your attorney on your behalf has sought to exclude certain themes or topics of evidence, in some cases successfully, yet this Facebook conversation does touch upon some of those.
I understand.
And you still want 423 to be admitted into evidence and referenced by the prosecution and defense.
Yes.
I'm satisfied.
All right, anything else that has to be out of the presence of the jury at the moment? We're dealing with we're gonna deal with your other issue that you brought up about the snow. About the,
Oh, yes, okay.
but we'll get back to you. Okay.
Okay.
What else? All right, we're gonna bring the jury in, okay?
Thank you, Judge.
Only 45 minutes late, not too bad. Okay, thanks, Scott. Love you. So we don't know who the first witness is going to be. I don't think they've told us yet.
All right for the jury?
Good morning, you may be seated. Thank you again for being timely. We weren't ignoring you, we were just sort of paving the way. So every day requires some certain preparation, so we appreciate you. Who's the next witness?
Ms. Kira Pennock.
Your Honor, I'm sorry, may I please address the part?
Sure.
Okay. Your Honor, on Friday, I think it was very clear beyond a reasonable doubt, I have difficulty and cannot use technology. In my frustration, I made a comment that was offensive to victims' families, and I did it absolutely by accident as I was struggling with my computer. I am apologizing for that comment. I want to apologize to the jurors, to the audience, to all involved, and specifically to the victims and the families of the victims. I truly did not mean to say the comment I made.
I believe that.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right. Do you want to approach just for a second? I'm supposed to ask the camera person to cut them. Yeah, it's you today.
Not sure what's going on here. Oh, okay, so they're just switching the camera angle because of the approach. I wonder if, she's getting a bit of a talking to right now. Because she said it in front of the jury, guys. I mean, I don't know, Rabbit, you can
Ms. Kira,
let me know what you think if you're still in the chat.
Good morning. Could you raise your right hand? Do you swear or affirm the testimony you're about to give is the truth so help you God?
I do.
All right, could you be seated and then would you state your name for the record and spell your first and last name, please?
My name is Kira Pennock, KiraPennock.
Thank you. Go ahead, prosecutor.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Kira, can you tell the jury how old you are?
I am 27.
Okay. And you actually have a pretty robust career at 27. Can you tell the jury what you do?
I own and run a horse farm. We do boarding and lessons and training
And how long have you been owning and running the farm?
since May of 21.
You said for the people in the jury or council, explain what a horse farm actually does. You said boarding and riding lessons, but what does that actually mean?
So people will own horses and they don't always have the means to have them at their house. So they will board them over at my place. So I take care of them. I feed them, I water them, I clean up after them. And then they can come visit their horses whenever they want.
Okay. And so the boarding includes feeding and watering the horse. That's all one price.
Yes, it also includes like cleaning up after them, but I mean, really just any of the care that they might need for just general living.
Okay. And how much is the cost of boarding one horse?
Board at that time was $400 for pasture board, so if their horse is outside 24/7 with access to a shelter if they wanted to use it.
Okay, 400 per horse.
Yes.
Okay. What's not included in boarding?
Vet bills, so if, the vet has to come out and do something with the horse. The farrier, so the person that
Again,
works
what
on the feet.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
It's basically kind of a pedicure for the horse, so that has to happen for 6 to 8 weeks. And then also lessons are not included, so those are separate.
And how much are lessons?
$35.
And how much for the vet bill, a vet or a farrier?
It really just depends on the horse, and then like what that horse needs. So, a horse needs routine vaccinations each year and just kind of general checkup. But there are other expenses as for like, emergency vet calls. So if your horse injured themselves or is colic.
And the vet comes to the barn.
Yes,
Okay. Do you know someone named Jennifer Crumbley?
I do.
Do you see her in the courtroom today?
I do.
Can you describe something she's bringing to the court? your farm, correct?
Yes.
All right, when, about what time, year, month?
They started boarding their horses, which by then they had bought the second horse. They had started boarding, I believe, in the July time period of 21.
Okay. Who did you know better, James or Jennifer?
Jennifer.
All right, and can you describe Jennifer's general demeanor when you were working with her? And, well, back up. What kind of interactions would you have with Jennifer, and what? Just talking about the horse that she was boarding, or was there anything else that you did with Jennifer?
A majority of our conversations were related to the horses and maybe talking about goals for the future for possibly showing or just training goals in general to figure out the best plan of action for the lessons that I was giving.
So did you give her lessons?
I did.
Okay, how often would you give her a lesson?
I would say between 2 and 3 times a week.
Okay, and when did that occur?
Usually in the evenings.
So did Jennifer come to the barn in the evenings during the weekdays, or was it on weekends, or both?
Well, she came in the evenings during the week, usually after work, and then weekends, she would come in the morning, afternoon, evening. But
Okay.
I can't say for sure the exact time usually.
And did you say how many times during the week, the work week?
I would say probably at least 2 to 3 times during the week.
And about, on the average, what time would she arrive?
About 4:35-ish.
Okay. And stay about how long, if you know?
Couple hours, so at least maybe 2 to 3 hours.
And was that just getting lessons, or were there other things that she was doing?
Just getting her horse ready for a lesson and doing the lesson and then cooling the horse down and taking them back out to their pasture. And then just everybody at the barn is pretty friendly. Everybody will talk. So just small conversation.
So the boarding and the feeding is just the basic care. Is there a lot more things you have to do to take care of a horse if you're the owner?
The owner pays the barn where the horse is boarded at to do the general care of the horse, like the day-to-day
Mhm.
things such as giving them water and grain and hay and cleaning up after them and maybe changing blankets and different things to make sure that they stay warm.
So there's a needed exhibit, which includes the Facebook messages between Jennifer and James. Were they both taking care of the horses? And the reason I ask is there seems to be a lot of communication between the two of them about taking care of the horses. So I'm trying to get at what else would they be doing other than just feeding the horse and you said cooling it off and taking it. I'm not a horse person, so taking it out to pasture, and does it have to be, do you have to ride your horses? Like what's the responsibility there?
Most likely what they might be talking about is maybe some of the vet care. So I know one of their horses had what's called mud fever, kind of a fungus stuff that might grow on the legs of a horse with wet weather. And that usually is something that ends up needing a vet to intervene with just medication to help take care of it. So it might be related to maybe the vet bills.
Okay.
Maybe just vet appointments related to taking care of the horses.
Okay. And you said they own 2 horses. What are their names?
One is named Billy and one is named Shorty.
What kind of horses were there in terms of value of the horses there? I know horses can be very expensive to purchase. Where do these horses fall on that continuum?
Well, they were both thoroughbreds, so they raced on the racetrack before they had gotten them. But I do not know how much Shorty was purchased for. I believe that Billy was purchased around like $5,000.
Okay. And how do you know how much Billy was?
She was sending me, or Jennifer was sending me information on him when she was looking for a horse.
Okay. And do you know anything about the circumstances of when she or how she bought that horse?
I know that she was talking about it late at night, and she was also drinking.
Okay. How do the people that board your horses and have lessons, give lessons, how do they pay you?
Your Honor, I need to make an objection. The witnesses against.
Shocker.
In part non-responsive, and I'd ask to be struck from the record.
Yeah, it was, I think it was, unless there's follow-up, I think it was somewhat unresponsive.
The Facebook message string that was just admitted details exactly how the horse was purchased, so I'm happy to move on and we'll deal with it then.
I don't know, I haven't read those. So.
The portion I'm objecting to is the unnecessary information about she was drinking at the time.
Okay.
I think it's relevant. I think if you're buying a $5,000 horse while you were drinking late at night is relevant to the case and the relationship that Jennifer Crumbley had in her priorities, and as well as the fact that the Facebook message string that was just stipulated to an admission without redactions, like absolutely discusses that.
Okay, next question.
How do people pay? Cash, check, credit card?
It can be any of those. A lot of people now use online payments like Venmo.
Okay. How did the Crumbleys pay you for your services?
Check.
And did James ever take lessons?
I have given him a few lessons.
So who was taking care of the horse during the day? Did Jennifer ever come during the day, during the week, or was it James, or did they both?
Well, the general care every day was done by the barn. But say if there was a need to have the vet out, we usually like to have the owners present. So they would usually have one of them at whatever vet appointment.
Okay. So you just testified they moved their horses to your barn July of 2021. You knew them approximately a year before that, 2 years?
They had boarded at the barn that I had my horses boarded at prior to buying my farm. I do not recall how much time we had boarded together there, but I had met them a couple years prior to
Okay,
that.
that's what I was getting at.
Yeah.
So you've known them a couple years before they came to your barn.
Yes.
Okay. Did you know that if Jennifer had a son,
Yes.
and did you ever meet their son?
I may have met him maybe once or twice.
Where, if you know, where was that? Was it at your barn?
It was not at my barn.
Okay. Did you ever see their son come to your barn?
No, I did not.
So the 2 to 3 times a week and on the weekend when Jennifer would visit, did she bring anybody with her?
Usually James.
Okay.
I don't remember anybody else really coming out and with her.
Do you allow kids at the barn?
Yes, we do.
And what are the kids that are at the barn usually doing?
Usually doing lessons. You know, some of the kids that are doing lessons, they have siblings that are brought out, so they just kind of maybe occupy their time with the barn cats or seeing the other horses on the property.
Okay. And do you have any family oriented activities or get-togethers?
We've had a family reunion
Meaning
before, but
parties or activities that children are welcome to come to?
yes, all of the events that we might have at the farm, kids are invited to. Like we've had parties like Halloween party before too.
Okay, around Halloween of 2021, do you remember if you had a Halloween party?
Yes, we did.
Do you know when it was and about what time of day it was?
I do not remember what day it was, but I know that it was afternoon, evening-ish.
Was it on Halloween or before Halloween?
It was before Halloween.
Okay, and it was a weekday or weeknight?
It was on a weekend, I believe.
A Friday or Saturday?
Yes.
Did Jennifer come to that party?
Yes.
And how do you remember that?
I remember that both Jennifer and James, they come to the party, and they were dressed up, and like our parties, we include the horses, so people will also dress their horses up for,
They put Halloween
party.
costumes on horses?
yes.
I did not know that.
Yeah, it was pretty fun.
Okay, and do you know if they dressed their horses up that year?
Not really dressing them up. They wanted to, but they had also said that they had another party to go to
Okay,
after mine.
so you did not see their son that night?
I did not.
Okay, did Jennifer talk to you about her son?
Not a ton. But every once in a while she would mention something about him.
And what, do you remember things that she would say?
Usually it was along the lines of, she was having problems with him, or he wasn't acting normal. She had called him weird before. She wanted him to do normal kid things.
Okay,
But, I never remember her saying anything about like, really bringing him out to the barn much or really doing much. I mean, they would go on vacations. I did hear about some vacations that they had gone on, but really there was not much talk about her son.
did she ever refer to him as a certain name? Did she speak negatively about him, or was it just, or positively?
There was nothing truly positive when she was talking about him. There were quite a few times that she had voiced that he was an oopsie baby.
What does that mean?
Um,
I'm sorry,
and
what did you understand that to?
I understood it as just
Your objection as to speculation and also as to relevance.
Well, I guess I wonder how it is relevant.
I think if you're referring to a teenager still as an oopsie baby, I think it's relevant to what kind of relationship you had with them and what kind of, defense counsels described her client an opening as hypervigilant. And so I think that the prosecution's entitled to
Well, I think their relationship is relevant. When you say your definition of an oopsie baby, are you using your own definition of what that means or hers?
my take on what the feelings that I have gotten that she has not really talked
Your
about.
Honor, you're asking if it's her opinion. I'm sorry, she's going
She did,
into her
and I'll
opinion.
clear it up. We don't,
Okay.
unfortunately, your feelings about it are
Right.
not what's relevant here.
Correct.
But did she ever explain what that meant?
She never truly explained what that had meant.
Okay. How long of a drive is the barn from Oxford, the village of Oxford, if you know?
I would say about 20 minutes.
What is the way that you would communicate with Jennifer?
Usually through Facebook Messenger.
And do you know why that is that the way you prefer to communicate?
I don't really mind what way to communicate. It seems like Facebook Messenger is how a lot of people communicate nowadays.
Okay, and does the barn have Wi-Fi?
Yes, it does.
Okay, so do you have problems communicating when you're at the barn?
It depends on how good the service wants to be at the barn.
Okay.
Some days it's really good, and then other days there's not great service.
All right. And I would assume most of the people at the barn, that's just people deal with that and they know that.
Yes.
Okay. Would you describe Jennifer, did you have a friendship or was it more just business?
It was mainly business. We had friendly talk, but I would not say that we were close friends.
When you buy a horse and it doesn't, it's not near where you are, how do you get it from like a different state to the barn?
Usually you can pay somebody to haul the horse over to the new location for you, or you can go pick it up if you have a trailer.
And do you know what was the second horse's name that was purchased?
Billy,
Billy. Do you know how he was brought to the barn?
he was shipped by someone that does a lot of cross-country hauling.
And do you remember about what month and year that was?
It was in the beginning of the year that she had gotten him, which I do not remember exactly when she had gotten him.
Did she get him before she came to your barn or after?
Before.
Okay, but, so how did you know what was your relationship like then, before she was at the barn?
Before she was at my barn.
Yes, your relationship.
I would give her some lessons, and it was mainly business. And
Was she asking for advice about which horse to buy or how to buy the horse?
not a lot, but just kind of, just general questions of, what might work for a good horse for what she wanted to do.
Okay, I guess what I'm getting at is, how do you know how the horse was shipped?
Because she had told me about, where he was, that he was in a different state, and that she would just have him shipped.
Okay, do you know approximately how much that costs?
I do not. It varies on who you use to haul a horse, and then also just, the cost of, the fuel and mileage, and, everybody kind of has their own fees that they,
More than 500, less than 500?
most likely more than 500.
Okay. Can you talk to me a little bit about the health concerns or issues with the two horses? Did they need a lot of extra care? Like, were they given a lot of extra care
Given extra care by the vet.
by the Crumbleys, by Jennifer?
They would come out and the mud fever that we were dealing with, and they had put medication on Billy's legs for that. But there were some issues lameness wise with their newest horse, Billy, that they had still had to have the vet out for to diagnose what the problem was.
Were they on any other medications or supplements?
Supplements, yes. Medications, not that I know of.
What's the cost of supplements for a horse?
Well, it depends on what you want to have your horse on. I know that both Billy and Shorty were on a lot of supplements, and it probably cost over $100, probably close to $200 per month per horse.
All right, I'm gonna draw your attention to November 30th, 2021. Do you remember that day?
Yes.
All right. What was the interaction you had with Jennifer Crumbley the day before that? So that was a Tuesday. Did you see her at the barn on Monday?
I do not remember. I think she was planning on coming out, but I don't remember exactly.
Okay. Did you have any communication with her that previous weekend?
The previous weekend before the 30th?
Yes, after Thanksgiving.
Yes.
And do you remember what that was about?
I remember wanting to set up lessons. I don't remember exactly anything else.
In your Facebook communications, did Jennifer ever mention going to a shooting range that summer or leading up to that fall?
She had mentioned that she was going to, but I don't really remember a lot of that.
Was that in the summer or the fall?
I would believe summer and fall.
Okay. Were you aware that she, do you follow her on social media?
I do.
Did you see the post that she posted about buying her son a Christmas present?
I did.
All right. Did you discuss it with her?
I did not.
Did you see it before the shooting or after?
I do not remember. I'm on social media, but not very frequent.
Okay. So the morning of November 30th, what was going on with their horses?
Their horse Billy needed the medication from the vet to help treat his mud fever because we couldn't fix it with the products that we were trying before, and his legs were swollen.
Okay, what was being done about it?
There was some ointment that was given to them by the vet to put on his legs.
That morning?
I believe they picked it up from the vet to put on the legs, because I remember James wanting to bring the medication out and put it on Billy's legs.
Okay, so did James go to the barn that morning?
Yes, he did.
Okay. And do you know from like what time to what time?
It was in the morning, but I don't recall what time.
Okay, and were you having conversations over Facebook Messenger with Jennifer during that time about the vet?
Not really.
Okay. Did you speak with her about this mud fever frequently?
I had mentioned it to her because it's not normal for a horse's legs to swell up like his did. Was just a mild case of this mud fever. So we had to have a little bit more involvement of getting that taken care of by having an ointment made by the vet that took care of it.
Okay. Was Jennifer planning on coming to the barn that night?
Yes.
And do you remember why?
We were going to do a riding lesson.
Did she end up going to that lesson?
She did not.
Okay. There was a text sent at what's, including in what's been previously admitted as exhibit 130, Your Honor.
130.
Can you read the top text there, and which one is you? Are you blue or black?
I am blue.
Okay, so can you read the text that you sent at, what does it say, 10:18 a.m. on the 30th?
Yes. Boys are needing supplements for tonight, and Shorty lost a bell boot again.
What's a bell boot?
It is it's like a rubber boot that goes over the horse's foot to help prevent. Well, we used it on Shorty because he would rip his shoes off all the time. He had metal shoes on, and he would pull his shoes off. So if you put a bell boot on, it helps to reduce the chance of them pulling a shoe.
Okay, and you're telling her why?
I was telling her to have her bring out another boot to replace the one that he had torn off.
So it's her responsibility to do that?
Correct.
Okay. And she responds, can you read that text?
Okay, I'll bring some out later. Just had to go to my son's school and meet his counselor. Shit day.
All right, so she responds to you in about 20, 30 minutes.
Yes. It
Okay.
looks like it.
Okay. And then is this continued on that same message? It's just another message at the same time, or was
Yes.
it later? Okay, can you read that?
Yeah, I still plan on doing the lesson. Everything's okay. He's just having a hard time after losing Tank, his friend, going away to a treatment facility, and who knows what else. But he was just caught drawing.
See, this is why I thought they were closer friends, are these text messages here.
And this is the worksheet that's been previously submitted, Your Honor. It's exhibit 74. Is there really- Yeah.
Yeah, see, for me, that's something a friend would write to a friend. And I know they had a business arrangement, but I don't know why she would be talking about all that personal stuff if they hadn't been friendly, at least. So I think Kira's trying to distance herself probably from Jennifer because she is testifying for the prosecution. And so I might not be around for the cross exam, but yeah, there's that. And then she sent her the picture there. You can see they're trying to bring it up on screen of the math
While he's doing that,
test that the shooter had
Jennifer participated
doodled
in
on.
shows
Like,
or
see the gun?
competitions.
It's really
She
super
had
small,
done
but you
one
can see the
show
gun.
with us.
And where was that?
At a farm right down the road.
Okay. Do you if she ever traveled for competitions or horse shows?
Not to my knowledge outside of when I had taken the horse.
May I approach your honor? So this is exhibit 74. And can you tell the jury what that is?
That is the math test that Jennifer had sent me that morning, of what her son had drawn on the math test.
All right, and did you take a close look at it when she sent it to you?
I did look at it, but I did not open it as soon as she had sent it to me. I saw it later.
Okay, how much later?
I believe that it was before the shooting had occurred, but after the shooting had happened, I had looked at the math test even closer.
Okay, so this is important, so I want to make sure I ask the question in the right way. You took a look at it, and you remember that. Is there a reason why?
I remembered saying that he had needed horse therapy. and
Okay.
She should bring him out for some horse therapy.
All right, okay, we're gonna get to that. Can you just do the next slide? So this is from who? You or Jennifer?
This message was from Jennifer.
Can you read it, please?
As long as I can get out there early enough, because I had to leave work for an hour and I have a meeting in Southfield at 3:00, but I should be done with that by 4. I plan on being there. Plus the vet said it's better for him to move around and keep it circulation going while he's dealing with mud fever. Good times.
Okay, so the first string I want to point out that you received from her about the lesson was 10:58. Do you remember? I'm sorry, yes, 10:58. Okay, and so this is all part of the same conversation?
Yes.
All right, and then the next text is from you, correct? Can you read that?
Yes. OMG, he needs some horse therapy. I bet he would love Mo. Whatever works for you, just let me know. I only have Bella's lesson tonight at 5:30, so anytime after her lesson is fine.
Okay, and her response?
Can
Okay,
everybody still
yeah,
hear this?
well,
Because my
He'll be
echo has
coming
gone
with me
away.
tonight. James is working and he can't be left alone.
Next slide.
For anyone who's out there, just
Does
let
he
me
want to
know.
ride?
And she
Put a one in the
responds,
chat.
I don't know.
Thumbs up.
Maybe brush a small horse so
Oh.
he's not.
Great.
um,
I don't have an echo anymore. That was highly annoying.
Great.
Oh, sorry, I had
Yeah,
the same problem.
no, I was trying to figure
Sorry.
out if there was more to that message there, but it was down. I don't know, maybe brush a small horse so he's not intimidated. LOL.
And she responds?
I responded,
Oh.
Mo would be perfect, and she responded with okay.
All right, and the next slide.
Make it a family event coming out to the barn. Really though, I've seen some amazing things done with horses with kids.
And at this point, you testified early, you hadn't ever seen him come to the barn.
Not to my farm, and I vaguely remember maybe seeing him once at the previous farm.
A few years prior.
Yes.
And her response,
He needs something.
and you responded, even though there seems to be a.
I can still read it. It
Okay.
says, let's make him a cowboy.
And
And then-
Jennifer responds,
LOL, mom goals for real.
all right. So that exchange ends, and then the next text you get from her Facebook message is at 2:36 p.m. that day.
Correct. And that says here, I will
Okay,
not.
hold on a second.
Okay.
What, when did you first hear about the shooting?
I had actually heard about the shooting when one of my students' moms had called me in that afternoon and said that they would not be out later for their lesson because of the shooting.
All right, and what was your first thought, Kira?
My first thought is that I knew who the shooter was by the math test that was sent to me.
That's a heavy thing to think. Talk to me about why that was your first thought.
It's not normal for somebody to draw these things on a test in school or even really think about these things, especially in a school setting, but really ever.
Okay, so did you then go back and take another look at the worksheet?
Yes.
All right. Did you talk to anybody about this at the time?
I had talked to my parents. I had told them that I believed that I knew who the shooter was, and I explained why.
Okay. And at some point, your father actually called the tip line, correct?
Yes.
When did you verify that it was in fact her son? Around what time, if you know?
I do not remember when I had verified that it was her son.
Okay, so let's go back to the text message at 2:36, and we know the shooting started at around 12:51. So this is almost an hour and a half after the shooting. She texts you what?
Kira, I won't be there tonight.
And you respond?
It's okay. Want me to work Billy for you?
And she says,
Yes, please.
okay, and talk to me about the next text and the picture.
It says just brought him in, and it's a picture of Billy.
All right. Did you text her photos or message her photos a lot of the horses?
I would send her pictures as I took them. I tried to be good about taking pictures of the horses.
Okay, and the next slide. This is at 4:07.
I said, hey, is everything okay? I heard there was a shooting at Oxford High School. Is Ethan okay?
And then at 4:21, you sent another text. Can you read
If
to
you
me?
need anything, please let me know. And then under that, oh no, that's the same
Okay.
message that's up there.
She responds at 4:42 and says what?
I need to sell my horse's stat.
And what did you respond to her?
I responded with, oh no, this was what I was worried about.
Okay, can I stop you there? What did you mean by that?
I had the feeling that her son was the shooter, and that with that, the horses would most likely have to be sold.
Okay, but it doesn't say that, and you came to that conclusion. Oh no, this is what I was worried about because of somebody information outside of what she actually texted.
Correct.
Okay. And you say what about the horses?
I said, if you're serious, I will gladly buy Billy for sure.
And
And then I asked how much, and she said, I paid $5,000 for him.
okay, about an hour and a half later, you respond. Oh no, no, 6:24. You say what?
I had said, do you want $5,000 for him, or do you want more?
In her response,
My head is spinning right now. Is 8 too much?
and she says,
I
You say-
said, I would gladly give you 8 if I could afford it. I really only have $5,000 to spend. You could ask Angela if she would buy him for 8. Angela would probably buy him.
okay. Do you buy and sell horses a lot?
I do not.
Okay, have you bought a horse from somebody before?
I have bought horses before.
Okay, is that something that you normally do via check, cashier's check, cash?
It depends on the situation.
Your Honor, I would just object to relevance.
Your Honor, this is part of a lot of evidence we're introducing about going to flight and the need for actual cash.
I'm not allowed.
Thank you. So at 6:47, she messages you again. What does it say?
I won't have my cell phone.
And you respond,
Do what you need to do. I will take good care of your boys here.
and the next slide. She says what?
I can be reached through here. I do not have my cell phone currently on a track phone.
And that is still the 30th, but it's at 10:21 p.m.
Yes.
All right, and can you read what you responded?
Do you need me to do anything for you? I'm not sure you should. There,
We have a clean copy.
Yeah, much more respectful from Shannon
I'm
today.
trying to find a paper copy that.
So
doesn't
I'm
have
really
that,
happy to see that.
So prominent in it, so one moment. Okay, let's talk about this. Do you know, where at some point did the law enforcement ask you if you communicated with Jennifer?
how do you mean that?
At some point, did you give the screenshots of these messages to law enforcement?
I think maybe the
Okay.
judge had talked to
So
her or
part of
something.
the problem, these are screenshots. Do you know, is that correct?
Yes, they are screenshots.
Okay, I'm gonna approach with the actual paper copy to see if maybe this is a little easier to read. It's just cut off, so. let's just do the
Yeah. I'm not.
Okay,
really sure.
We'll clear it up because we have a
Okay.
complete, but
Yeah.
can you just read what you can understand?
On this next, or it says story being uncovered, already seeing some stuff on Facebook. People are figuring out what's going on.
And she responds,
I'm off Facebook.
okay, and the next slide?
I'm still in shock. What did Angela post?
Okay, so that text that you couldn't read, do you remember, was that about Angela?
I do not recall.
Okay.
Yeah, definitely
And
do
she
that, Robin.
responds- You respond,
I said, can you receive pictures? I'll screenshot it. And she said, yes, I'm here. And then I sent her a screenshot.
do you remember what the screenshot, without reading exactly what it said, what the nature of it was?
The poster had been extremely frustrated and upset about what happened with the shooting.
Okay, and were there any threats in that screenshot?
I do not remember.
Okay, we'll pull it up. Hold on 1 second. Okay, all right, so the next time you text her at 10:45, can you tell Jerry what you said?
I cannot believe people on Facebook. I'm so sorry you're having to deal with this stuff.
Okay, and because I know this is going to be something council wants to talk to you about, can you tell us what were you feeling at that moment when this was going on about Jennifer and the whole situation?
I was extremely upset about the situation.
Okay, can you give me a little more than extremely upset?
I didn't really know what to think. I couldn't believe that this had happened, and especially so close to, home. And I was concerned about what was going to happen in the future
Okay,
with just my farm in general.
and you at the time were how old?
That was
2 years ago.
2 years ago. I was 25.
All right, and were you feeling bad for Jennifer?
I did not truly feel bad for Jennifer. I was upset that this had happened to all of the kids and families, and I wanted to figure out how I could possibly get more information to help make sure that things were taken care of.
Were
Wow.
there any students at Oxford that you gave lessons to or were at the barn? What is the community like there?
Yes, I give lessons to a few people from Oxford.
Okay. All right, the next slide. This is at 11 p.m. that night. Can you read your text?
Did you guys leave the medication for Billy's legs? If not, no worries. I'll just put my stuff on him.
And she responds,
I'll bring by tomorrow. We're in hotel and live here. News live at our house.
And you respond,
No problem.
and then at 11:40 you say what?
Please stay safe.
Next slide. This is the screenshot that you sent or she sent?
She had sent me,
Okay, and she responded,
I can't go home.
okay. And did you read those?
What I could just from the screenshot.
Okay, did you view those as threats to her life?
Your Honor, I would object as to her opinion.
Yes, that's fine.
Okay, the text, the screenshot speaks for itself. Next slide. Okay, go ahead.
I'm concerned for you guys. You should stay.
All right, while we're getting a copy that actually is clear, why are you concerned? Why were you concerned? What does
My
the text says?
my concern was more for the safety of myself and the people at my farm. And here in that concern, I am showing sympathy to hopefully figure out maybe more information on what is going to happen if they're going to try to come to my farm, or if people were going to show up.
What was the concern?
My concern about them coming to the farm, knowing about the situation that had just happened, is that they may steal things to sell to get money to pay for the.
Your Honor, I would object to this about her thoughts and feelings about stealing. This is irrelevant and prejudicial.
Issues of fact witness, ask for facts and fact questions.
Your Honor, she is most likely going to be asked by counsel to explain that she was worried about her safety, and so I'm asking her what she was really worried about. I'm happy to save it on to redirect them.
Okay.
And then she responds what?
I have my pets at home. I'm sorry, I don't want to put anyone at risk. I don't know what to do.
Okay, her pet's at home. Did you know anything about her pets?
I know that she had a dog at least still, and I think she had a cat.
Okay. And this was still the night of the shooting.
Yes.
The next slide. And in fact, this is at 11:59 p.m. after she says, I'm concerned about my pets. What do you respond?
Best thing you can do is just be honest about things. I'm not sure. I'm wondering about even buying your horses, if that would drag me into this, or if you just sign them over to me.
Okay, and then there's content we have to clear up, but can you read the last sentence or the two last sentences?
Two last sentences. I see people saying you're using money from the horses to get a better lawyer or something. People are ridiculous.
All right, next slide.
I'm selling my house too. Lawyer will cost every bit of $200,000, and I think it will be questioned. You won't get dragged in. And then I have responded with,
Safe to say you might have been worried you would be called to testify on high. Yeah. Okay, what is your?
most I can afford to pay is $5,000. Farrier is coming out Thursday also.
And she responds,
That's fine, sold. And then
okay,
she had said, I'll sign Shorty over to you.
all right, next slide.
Okay, want to sign them over tomorrow? I can either write personal check or I can go get money order. I'm not sure I have the cash on me. Can see if they'll let me withdraw that much.
So do you keep that kind of cash at the barn with you?
No,
All
I
right,
do not.
all right. And her response?
I'm bawling right now, Kira. My son ruined so many lives today.
Okay, so is. Do you have the time?
So it's kind of like they're trying to make the case she's concerned about the money first and the victims second. I think that's kind of where they're going with this, but
Right around
That's the legal part. Psychologically, Shannon's doing okay. Shannon's holding herself together.
There's no time on this.
Do you see the time?
There's no time in those messages. The last time it shows where the time
Okay, let's move on. The next, she says, I'm dolling, my son ruined so many lives today. And the next slide?
Then I so wish I could help you out more. I'm still in shock too. Take it one day at a time. Be honest about everything. It should help you guys through this.
And then you say, if you guys need anything, and I'll do what I can for you, and I'll take good care of the boys. Who are you talking about?
I am talking about both of their horses.
Okay. She responds,
I know you will.
and then your response?
Try to rest some. You'll need it. We can talk more tomorrow about the boys.
And she says what?
Okay, thanks for not judging unlike the whole world.
Okay, next slide.
I know you and James, and this doesn't even remotely make me think that it's your fault. It sounds like Ethan was a troubled kid. It's unfortunate this happened because he did ruin a lot of, and I,
What's that? Can you read the last few sentences?
yeah, the last few sentences of that, that message says, who knows, try to stay calm and collected as you can.
And remember, Jennifer deleted a lot of these text messages or these Facebook Messenger messages too. That was established just Friday in court.
Oh, yeah, it's a lot here.
Yeah. Okay. Well, hold on one moment, Your Honor.
They did have warnings. Technically, they did have some warnings. And I think that's what Karen McDougall is going to be bringing up right now.
Okay, we're gonna put up on the screen a better copy so that you don't have to sort of guess what you said in between sentences. So, one moment.
Yeah, so like I say, day one was about the guns. Day two is about establishing the shooter's mental health.
Okay, so we've been over this. This is we'll start at 10:45. And can you go to scroll down? Okay, go back. All right, can you read that full message up from 11:44, the night of the shooting, that you wrote in blue?
I'm concerned for you guys. You should stay where you are. I'm concerned for you even coming out here. I don't want people finding out about your horses or hurting you while you are here.
Okay. And she responds,
I have my pets at home.
go ahead.
I'm sorry, I don't want to put anyone at risk. I don't know what to do.
And you respond, again, rereading this because there's a line missing, go ahead.
Best thing you can do is just be honest about things. I'm not sure. I'm wondering about even buying your horses, if that would drag me into this, or if you just sign them over to me, if that would be better for both of us. I could see people saying you're using money from the horses to get a better lawyer or something. People are ridiculous.
Okay. And she responds, I'm selling, we've entered this, it's gonna cost everybody $200,000 and I don't think it will be questioned. You shouldn't get dragged in. And then again, we've read these texts, you said you don't have $5,000, or that's the most you can afford to pay, scrolling down. She agrees to that and you tell her you don't know if you can withdraw $5,000, correct?
Correct.
All right. All right, can you read that text again in the blue that you sent her, now that it's complete?
I so wish I could help you out more. I am still in shock too. Take it one day at a time. Be honest about everything. It should help you guys through this. Please let me know if you guys need anything and I'll do what I can for you. I'll take good care of the boys.
And she responds, I know you will. You say, try to get some rest. We can talk more tomorrow about the boys. And she says, okay, thanks for not judging us, unlike the whole world. So what time is this? This is now the next day at 12:28 a.m.?
Yes.
All right. And go ahead and read that entire text that you're texting her into the early hours,
Yes.
correct? Okay, go ahead.
I know you and James, and this doesn't even remotely make me think it's your fault. It sounds like Ethan was a troubled kid. It's unfortunate this happened because he did ruin a lot of lives around him and his own. Everything will work out how it's supposed to. I feel everything happens for a reason. Maybe this happened to raise awareness. Who knows? Try to stay calm and collected as you can.
And then you had an amazing ride on Billy.
Yes.
Okay, and how does Jennifer respond?
I wish we had warnings, something. He's a good kid that made a terrible decision. I'm glad Billy, good, kills me to sell him.
Okay, did you know what she was talking about?
She was talking about not having
Your
more.
Honor, I would object to this witness's opinion. The texts speak for themselves.
I'm not asking her an opinion, Judge. I'm trying to ask her if there was any.
The topic of the conversation?
Yes.
Did she?
What I'm trying to ask, Judge, is did she have any context for this about warnings?
Okay. She'd have
Without saying what.
She'd have to have personal knowledge.
Right, I was trying to get to that, actually. Did you have any information from before she sent you the text about warnings, about what that meant? Not just what you perceived it as, but did you have any information she had provided earlier about warnings?
Just information of not really talking about her child much and that he was troubled.
Okay. So you don't know, other than the worksheet she texted you, did you, that day, did she say anything about warnings?
No, she did
Okay.
not.
All right, and you respond,
There probably were warnings, but nobody saw them. Hindsight is always 20/20. I absolutely adore Billy.
okay, and the next.
A lot of people have found out, I guess Ethan is all over Facebook. People at the barn are concerned. I think it would be best if you didn't come out to the barn, or if you do, you must be escorted by the police. I'm really sorry. I'm looking out for my business here too.
All right, and what were you testified earlier you were worried about theft, but what were you worried about? Is there anything else that you were worried about at that point?
I was also worried about just the safety of my other boarders. I do have people that I give lessons to that do go to Oxford, and they did not want to be around if Jennifer and James to come to the farm.
Okay, and she responds to you, this is then the next day after the shooting, it's around 9:56 a.m. What does she respond?
Seriously, those horses are the only thing that is good in my life right now. And I responded with, I 100% understand that, but we all need to be careful. What if people follow you here?
Okay, the next messages indicate that it says Kira missed your call. Is there a way to call through a Facebook Messenger that doesn't include, it's not a cell phone call? Are those two different things if you know?
Yes.
Okay, and had you received Facebook calls from Jennifer before?
She has attempted to call through
Okay.
Facebook before.
And you didn't pick up?
I did not.
Is there a reason for that?
I do not remember what I was doing at that time.
Okay, and the next message?
Call me on Facebook, on track phone, need to talk and figure some things out.
And what is your response?
Sorry, I missed your call. I'm still doing some stuff and can't do a phone call until later on.
And then you say, can you message me?
Oh, yeah.
Communicate that way. Correct?
Yeah, yes.
Okay, next message. She says what?
Let's talk later, easier than texting. This phone is hard to text on.
And now your response is, now this is 3 o'clock, the day after the shooting, you respond what?
All right, no problem. I'll let you know later today.
And then you text her again that night at around 8 p.m.
If you're comfortable coming out here without police, I'm okay with it too. We just need to be careful. I don't want
Yeah.
people to follow you or hurt you.
Okay, Kira, it seems as if you're changing your mind here and you're not exactly sure how to handle it. What's going on with that text? Because that's opposite of what you said earlier.
Your Honor, I would object to the narrative being provided by the prosecution and ask that she just ask questions.
Okay, well, I think she is. She's asking, did you change your mind?
I had changed my mind to allow her to come to the farm, but in my head, if she did decide to come to the farm, I would still have, my parents were there and just making sure that things were still safe.
Okay, and were you continuing to talk to other people like your parents during this time about what to do? Or were you pretty set?
I had talked to my parents.
What is her response shortly after that? That's still 8:12 p.m.
We're out of the area for a few days in a safe place until we have a better grasp on everything.
Okay, and the next message you send?
I am very glad you are safe. I care about you guys. I will take care of your boys. Let me know when you want me to buy them and I'll buy them.
And then you also add, if you need anything else, could just let me know.
Yes.
All right. And the next message she sends is about an hour or so later at 9 p.m. And what did she say?
I'm sorry, my keyboard sucks. Let's plan on Monday to sail.
Okay. And at this time, December 1st would be a Wednesday,
Yeah,
if you know.
I think. I'm not good with dates.
Okay. And so Monday is 4 or 5 days later.
Yes.
Okay. And then you respond, okay, sounds good. Is there a way for me to get the medication for his legs before then? Who are you talking about, Billy?
I was talking about Billy because
Okay.
he had the medication that was being used to treat his
The
fever.
mud fever?
Yes.
All right. And then she responds,
What's your number? I want to call and set up a safe place to meet. My messenger is probably being monitored. And
okay, she's telling you at 9:30 on Wednesday night, my messenger is probably being monitored. What did you take that to mean? What messenger?
She is referring to the Facebook Messenger.
So you monitored meaning that the messages you're sending are being monitored.
Correct.
Did you know who was monitoring them?
I do not.
Okay. And then she says what?
She says, hey, we need to get that stuff to you and discuss the horses.
Okay, so this is the following day at 12:49. she says we need to get that stuff and discuss the horses. And how do you respond?
My response.
Who's Truman?
Truman is our farrier that we use.
You're what?
Our farrier.
Okay, were Billy and Shorty having a farrier visit?
Yes.
Okay, and that was arranged by who?
All the horses get done at the same time.
Okay, so you say Truman's here right now, I can let you know when he's done, and you say, I'll message you.
Ooh.
Yes.
Okay,
She admitted she was trying to avoid it.
A
conversation.
I'm sorry, can we do call tomorrow morning?
okay. Were you trying to avoid a conversation, or you were just busy?
Both.
Okay, fair, all right, and the next message comes in, December 2nd. Yep, can we still sell the horses tomorrow?
Yeah.
And you respond, this is at 10:56 p.m. You respond what?
I think so. Want me to have cash or check?
And how does she respond?
Cash is best.
And you respond what?
What do you want to do with your tack?
And what's tack?
Like the saddles and bridles for the
Okay.
horses.
And she says sell it?
Yes.
Okay, now this is December 3rd at 7:19 a.m., correct?
Yeah.
Is that what it says?
That's that message out there.
Okay, that's UTC -5, so that is the actual time. That's 7:19 a.m. And that is
Yeah.
December 3rd. And you respond what?
I can probably give you 800 for it all if you want. Are you able to meet today still?
Okay, and that is do you know if that was Friday?
I do not remember.
Okay, no worries. And her response is what?
Her response was maybe. They're announcing charges at 12, so not sure what's happening.
Okay, so that is, if I told you that was a Friday, do you have every reason to disagree with that? December 3rd.
I do not know the actual date that day.
Okay,
I cannot
so
say.
do you know what she's talking about? Charges? Did you have any clue as to what that was about? Just yes or no?
Yes.
Okay. From Jennifer or from another source?
News.
Okay. And you respond at 11 a.m. shortly, about 45 minutes after. Just let me know and we can figure something out. Do you have the papers for the boys? Is that like ownership papers?
Registration papers, because
Gotcha.
both of the horses are registered.
And then you follow up saying what?
If you will take $5,800 for horses and all the tack and stuff included, I'll go get the money today. So I have it ready when you're ready.
Okay, and she responds, yes, and Brian will contact you. Papers are at my house. Brian's a mutual friend that you both know.
We both know him.
Okay, that's it.
Jennifer's closer to
Okay.
him than I am.
Thank you. And you respond, did you find a place for your other animals? Were you talking about her pets at home?
Yes.
Okay. And she says, not yet. This is at 2 p.m. And then you respond, I can find them good homes with my family members if you want. And that's around 2 p.m. as well. Is that the last message you sent or had exchanged with her?
I do not know if that's the last time that I talked to her with this.
Okay. Did you give all of the messages on that day, the screenshots to law enforcement that you had?
I did, yes.
Okay. Where are what happened to the horses? Did she end up, did you buy them?
I did not buy them. They were actually signed over to me. Part of our boarding contract is if payment is not made after a certain number of days or months, then the horses become the property of the facility to cover the costs of having them boarded.
Okay, and you were making those arrangements with somebody else other than Jennifer?
Jennifer's dad.
Okay, all right. Nothing further. at this time.
Ross?
Thank you. Good afternoon, or morning, good morning. My name is Shannon Smith. I represent Mrs. Crumbley. I believe that I've met you once before when you testified in court at the preliminary exam. Do you recall that?
I do.
If I ask you any questions that are at all confusing, can you please stop me and let me know?
I will.
Okay, thank you. I want to start off by talking about your relationship with Jennifer Crumbley. You testified today that you had a business relationship with her. Is that correct?
It was a business relationship, but also a friendship, but we were not super close friends.
Okay, so you would agree that at the time prior to November 30th of 2021, Jennifer Crumbley was also a friend to you. Not particularly close, but a friend.
Correct.
And the farm that you own, do you call it a farm or a barn?
It's both.
Okay, I keep using the word interchangeably, so I thought
Yep,
I'd ask.
either works.
The property you own is approximately 51 acres, is that correct?
Correct.
And it's fair to say that to get to your property, there are long roads in a very rural area, is that correct?
Yes.
So your farm is not right up against cities or areas with a lot of traffic, correct?
Correct.
On those roads that are close to the farm, it's fair to say the cell signal cuts in and out for different cell phones.
Correct.
And you personally, at the time all of this took place, had a phone through Verizon Wireless, correct?
Correct.
And you would be able to use your Verizon phone while at the farm.
For the most part, depending on the area and also just the day.
So there were some parts of the farm or parts of the day where you would also have trouble getting a signal to make phone calls or send text messages, correct?
Correct.
And you know from the other people who board and come to the farm that other people also have internet issues and are unable to receive calls and texts while at the barn.
Yes, sometimes people would struggle with that.
It sounds like there's one little area by a picnic table where people kind of flock if they want to check their texts or get data. Is that correct?
It very well could be. There are a couple areas that seem to maybe be a little bit more reliable service-wise, but even then, like sometimes if it's too windy, things don't work.
Now, you testified that Jennifer Crumbley gave you information that her son was weird, although she talked about vacations and some other things with him. Is that true?
Correct.
And you testified that you had concerns about her son prior to the events that unfolded on November 30th, correct?
I have not voiced to her that I had seen concerns, but in my mind, I had thought that, you know, some of the things that she had described or how she didn't really talk about him much, or if, you know, when she had talked about him, it was very vague. Like people like to talk about their children, and she did not talk about her children.
One moment, and whatever's on the screen is not an exhibit, and so
Do I just go ahead and turn this off?
It's the button there.
There's a button for it to go to use.
Should I just pull my plug out?
I don't know, is this yours?
Yes.
Is this yours?
Yeah, this is my
Oh.
laptop. I didn't realize it was turned on to my laptop, so my desktop was evidently up there. Okay, so Mrs. or I'm sorry, Ms. Penick, when you, so you've testified obviously here today, but you recall testifying at a preliminary exam that took place back in 2022, correct?
Yes,
And on the day you testified in 2022 at the preliminary exam, you did the same thing we saw here in court. You raised your right hand and swore to tell the truth, correct?
correct,
And on that date, you did your best to take the stand and tell the truth about your knowledge of the information in this case.
correct.
Now, on that date, when you testified, you were specifically asked, have you ever been given reason to believe he was not mentally sound, that he needed professional, medical help? And your answer was no on that occasion, correct?
Correct.
You were also asked, have you ever had reason to believe the shooter was homicidal or he would hurt other people? And your answer was no, correct?
Correct.
Now, today you testified that the shooter, you were told about issues related to the shooter and him being weird.
Yeah, she just
correct?
comes across as really angry,
You
her body
testified
language.
about that issue at the
Uh,
preliminary exam. And
But,
on page
that
55,
happens with the defense attorneys,
And
have
you were
have to be
asked-
that way.
When you said that,
Objection, Your Honor, you're on page 55 of what?
the preliminary exam.
So the witness doesn't have that, and I think she doesn't have it,
This is impeachment.
right, but she's referencing a page number to something that nobody else.
Oh, I
Yeah,
think she was
because
referencing the page number so that you know where she is.
Right.
in the exam.
Okay, it's not an exhibit, so I'm just wondering if we're gonna refer to certain things that she said that she be allowed to also see that before she answers.
Well, I think she said, if she doesn't remember, if she doesn't recall, right?
Otherwise, with impeachment, I don't need to put the,
Yeah, so ask her if she recalls being asked a certain question.
okay. At the preliminary exam, you testified about whether James and Jen had issues with their son.
Do you recall that?
I recall.
And on that date, you said, I had never gotten the feeling that Jen and James had those types of issues with their son, correct?
Correct. I did
And-
not know if there were specific issues, as they had never told me flat out that there were issues, but just some of their behaviors that they were comments that they had made, indirect comments, made me think that there may have been issues at some point.
So it's your testimony today that you thought there may have been issues, but when you were asked under oath and testified in 2022, you specifically said, I had never gotten the feeling that Jen and James had those types of issues with their son.
This is why I agree with her
I
argument.
don't have any paper proof or documentations of conversations to know for sure, so they're just my.
I'm not an attorney.
Okay, that's.
I'm a mental
I'm
health
not
person.
asking if you have documentations or proof. I am just saying that on that date in 2022, which was closer in time to the events in this case, your testimony, sworn testimony, was that James and Jen did not have those issues with their son, correct?
Correct.
Now, when the math drawing was sent over to you by Mrs. Crumbley, the math paper her son wrote on, do you know what I'm talking about?
Yes.
Okay. You ultimately saw that math paper, and you would agree with me that Jennifer appeared very concerned about what was going on, correct?
She had stated that she was concerned.
Okay. So she sends you the math paper and expresses concern.
Yes.
Now, you testified that when you heard there was a shooting at Oxford High School, you knew who the shooter was, correct?
My feeling with the information that I was given before I had actually seen it on the news, and who the shooter actually was, I had my feelings about who the shooter was.
So you did not believe that the shooter would have committed a school shooting based on the math paper alone, correct?
I do not know for sure.
If you saw that math paper and thought there would be a school shooting, you would have told someone, correct?
I cannot predict the future that there would have been a shooting, but I was very concerned about the sheet, the math test that was sent to me. And I did talk to my parents about the math test that I was shown, and my understanding is that with Jennifer and James meeting with the school, that this was discussed.
Okay, we can agree that after the meeting about the math paper, Jennifer was concerned. We already went through that, yes.
Yes,
We can agree that she sent you a picture of the math paper and you also felt concerned, correct?
correct.
And we can agree that you did not call law enforcement or police to say, hey, I think a school shooting is going to unfold, correct?
Correct.
At the time you saw the math paper and were concerned, you would have stopped a school shooting if you predicted it was going to happen, correct?
I would not have known that something like this would have happened.
You wouldn't have thought something like this would happen, correct?
Correct.
What ended up happening was horrible, correct?
Correct.
And it was not anything that you expected even, correct?
Correct.
So when you are telling the jury that you hear about the shooting and you're thinking about the math paper, you know it's at Oxford High School, your testimony was you had an idea of who the shooter was, correct?
Correct.
In order to reach that conclusion at that time, you had to rely on hindsight, looking backwards at things that you believed supported Jennifer's son may be the shooter, correct?
Yes, the only thing that the thing that made me believe that I knew who the shooter was realizing the math test that was sent to me that morning.
Right.
So after the shooting happened, I had a feeling of who the shooter was because of the math test that was sent to me that morning.
Okay, so it's looking backwards, connecting the dots of things you see that were of concern, and knowing the shooting happened, that helps you put it together who the shooter is.
Correct.
But again, if you saw that math paper and had known or had a crystal ball and knew the shooting was going to unfold, you would have certainly called the police or done something to stop it.
Absolutely.
You also would have said to Mrs. Crumbley, hey, I think your son is going to do something to hurt people, correct?
Correct.
Or, hey, I think your son might do something to hurt himself.
Correct.
And it's fair to say that you did not send Mrs. Crumbley messages along those lines.
Correct.
Now, you testified that you were being kind to Mrs. Crumbley. I don't believe you used the word being kind, but I characterize it as kind. When you said to her, I'm so sorry you have to deal with this, text messages along those lines that have been admitted, correct?
Correct.
And you are aware that Mrs. Crumbley from the text messages was saying she can't go home,
Correct.
and you were expressing concern for her.
Hopefully my
in
message,
response to
Rabid,
saying
makes
she
sense
can't
to you.
go home.
Correct.
We can
It-
agree
the
that
math
there
test
was a
was revealed that
strong
same day of the
public
shooting.
opinion
And the counseling
against the
session.
Crumbleys that you were aware
And the
of.
shooting.
Correct.
Many people were very angry with the Crumbley parents when they knew the Crumbley parents were the parents of the shooter.
Correct.
So one of Mrs. Crumbley's concerns that was discussed in these texts with you were for her safety and the safety of her husband.
Correct.
And that poured over onto you as well. As the barn owner, you needed to be concerned about your affiliation with the Crumbleys.
Correct.
And you needed to be concerned to make sure that you were not specifically harmed by anyone for being affiliated with them, correct?
I wanted to make sure that myself, my family, and my barn family were also safe.
Well, that was gonna be my next question. You were concerned about yourself, and I'm sorry, you said your family?
My close family, and then also what we call a barn family, or people that are boarded at my facility.
Thank you. And that's why you made indications to Mrs. Crumbley about not coming to the barn or only coming with a police escort, because you were watching out for what you needed to protect, which is yourself, the people you care about, and your boarders.
Correct.
When you write to Mrs. Crumbley in the texts that were admitted, please stay safe, you genuinely wanted Mrs. Crumbley to stay safe.
Correct.
And Mrs. Crumbley was explaining that she can't go home. Those texts speak for themselves.
Correct.
And Mrs. Crumbley ultimately says that they are staying out of town for a few days.
Correct.
And it's your understanding they were not returning back to their home address.
Correct.
In the text, you say to Mrs. Crumbley, you give her some advice to be honest about everything, correct?
Correct.
At no point, there is no point where Mrs. Crumbley says to you, hey, I'm gonna lie about this, correct?
Correct.
There's no point where she says, Kara, please take my side and lie about anything, correct?
Correct.
When you're giving her the advice to tell the truth, she's not saying to you, I'm not planning to do that, right?
Correct.
And in your texts, you confirm to Mrs. Crumbley that you don't remotely think it's Jen and James' fault that the shooter did this, correct?
I did put that in the text message. Correct.
And then Mrs. Crumbley responds that she wishes there had been warnings, correct?
Correct.
And when you text her back, you say there probably were, but nobody saw them, right?
I did have that in my message. Correct.
And if you had seen warnings that the shooter would do something like he did, you certainly would have voiced that to Mrs. Crumbley.
Your Honor, I believe she's been asked that question a couple of times.
Well, I think she asked if you saw that picture in People's 74, would you call the police and said there's a mass shooting, there's gonna be a mass shooting, so I think the question is somewhat different.
I believe she also asked her if you would have said something to Mrs. Crumbley, I'm concerned.
Did she ask you that, Lorraine?
Yes, a variation.
I did ask that, but then further down in the text messages, the conversation shifts. And the conversation is specifically, again, about signs and warnings. And so that's why I'm asking this witness a question about it again,
Okay.
only because it reappears.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay, so you never said to Jennifer Crumbley, when you two were discussing the word warnings, hey, I think there were warnings, correct?
Can you rephrase that?
You did not say to Mrs. Crumbley, when you guys were talking about her wishing there were warnings, you didn't say, Jennifer, there were warnings.
That is correct, because
That's just my question. You did not say, Jennifer, there were warnings.
Correct.
And in fact, you continued to go on to be kind to Mrs. Crumbley and continue working out the terms of buying this horse, correct?
Correct.
And you continued to be concerned and telling Mrs. Crumbley, stay where you are, and that you didn't want people hurting them, correct?
Correct.
When Mrs. Crumbley was commenting to you about a lawyer costing $200,000, you understood she was trying to gather money together to pay a lawyer, retain a lawyer.
Correct.
And at that point, the shooting by the shooter had taken place, correct?
Correct.
And you do not know who the lawyer was for that Mrs. Crumbley was going to be thinking about paying $200,000 to, correct?
I did not know.
There were originally 2 lawyers too, so that's gonna be $100,000 per lawyer. So, Shannon Smith is supposedly getting $100,000. So she's a retained lawyer, she's not a publicly assigned lawyer.
May I have one moment, Your Honor?
Sure.
Ms. Pennick, in light of your testimony, I just want to confirm, you have never suspected that Jennifer Crumbley has stolen anything from you, correct?
No.
You've never filed a police report or made that kind of claim to Mrs. Crumbley or anyone, correct?
No.
Thank you.
Redirect?
Kira, did you have any trouble receiving and sending Facebook messages that day when you, in the thread that I had you read?
I do not remember.
Okay, but you successfully communicated with her?
Correct.
Okay. Council asked you a couple times about text messages you sent Jennifer, and you wanted to explain. You said, that's what I wrote in the text. And you, what do you mean when you say that?
A lot of the messages that I had sent, I wanted to send them in a way that I could possibly gain more information to provide to the law and get this situation taken care of.
Okay. Did you have any other concerns about being in a confrontation or a fight?
Not directly with them.
Okay. And she just asked you about concerns about theft. And you said, no, you didn't prior to this. So why were you concerned about it now?
I was concerned because when somebody needs a lot of money and then they're in a tight spot with something like this case, that they may do things that they may not have ever.
Dude, I'm muted. All of that stuff, I was muted. Okay, I'll try again. Okay, I'm sorry. I was muted. All right. So this is a good place to stop. I don't know why I'm still hearing the trial in my ear. It's so strange. I got to figure that out if I ever want to do this again because it's driving me nuts. But I think I held it together pretty good. Okay, so what I was going to say in closing is that at the beginning of this trial today, the defense attorney immediately brought up a comment that she had made on Friday about wanting to kill herself because her PowerPoint wasn't working, and she apologized for it. And she was talking about it and brought attention to it with the jury in the room. You could see the man at the prosecutor's desk go up to the judge while she was talking and apologizing for her remark, come back to the desk, and then the judge called both prosecution and defense up there. We don't know what was said, but I do know that Shannon's behavior drastically improved after that. Now, I don't know if she was going to try some stuff before that, but I do know that she was a much more professional Shannon Smith than I saw on Friday. So I thought that was good. But my thought was, you know, bringing that up brings attention to something that was not great. And so she just brought it up again in the night. So as a behavioral person, I'm thinking, like, why would you want to do that? If it was already a bad remark, why bring it up again? She did the same thing when she objected about putting the text messages up there or the messages, Facebook messages, whatever there were about like, I'm going to get drunk and ride my horse. I think there were texts between James and her. She objected to it, but why, while objecting to something that wasn't even brought up yet, she was calling attention to something that was not that great. Why would she do that? Well, she wanted to try and draw some attention to herself, and she was doing that a little bit of that heroic assault thing again, but she really calmed down. The other thing I was going to say is there was warnings. There were warnings. Okay, um, you know, Jennifer described the shooter's behavior to Kira, the lady who was on the stand, and there were warnings. Um, Kira's thoughts on them were all very interesting and like horse therapy. And she brought up horse therapy and all of these possibilities uh, because there were warnings. And she said something that I thought was really interesting. Kira did. She said in one of her messages, there probably were warnings, nobody saw them. And I wonder if that is going to be used to, I mean, I'm even thinking, I think involuntary manslaughter is a little bit of a push for this. Maybe child negligence could be another charge. That's the lawyer in me. I'm not a lawyer. Mental health wise, though, I think there were warnings. But yeah, defense makes a good point. Could we have actually definitively predicted a school shooting from that math test and the doodling on the math test, and B, the mental health conditions? There were warnings. And even if they knew he had a gun and access to a gun, which, by the way, he did have access because they weren't illegally stored. They were legally stored. They didn't have to be locked up in Michigan. I just thought that Kira's thoughts were interesting. And I wanted to also say in closing that the dad called 911. The couple did go to the police afterwards. They had a court date for later on, and they were found in a warehouse after not making their court date. All this time, they were communicating with this witness, Kira, that just left the stand. So the trial's back on again. I am going to actually sign off, but if you want to continue to watch the trial, I will certainly catch up later um, with the trial and with you. I really appreciate everybody who came in. I didn't think anybody would do this. Um, um, Anyway, I hope you guys heard that. Oh, I thought I unmuted myself. Okay, well, we'll figure that out later. In the meantime, I'll go ahead and sign off.